All right, we're rolling. Let's get it all on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Let's see what's up. Yo, what's up, people? Welcome again to another episode of the Meathead on the Mic podcast. It's episode number 101, and we're going to be talking about how to grow muscle, or more specifically, how I gained over 50 pounds of muscle within the last 5 years with under 15% body fat. So I'm going to repeat that again because I almost butchered it. How I gained over 50 pounds in 5 years while keeping my body fat percentage under 15%. Of course, before we get into this, I want to let you know genetics do play a role for sure because I did this all naturally. And outside of that, regardless of doing it naturally, the way your body is going to respond is going to be different. It's going to vary from based off of where you're starting in your fitness journey, and overall, just how your body responds to nutrition and training styles. If you're able to find the right style for you, but I'm simply going to be giving you the key pointers, the things that I can like look at and objectively say that these are like the main reasons why I was able to gain over 50 pounds of lean mass in 5 years while keeping my body fat percentage under 15%. All right, so stick around, stay tuned. Of course, if you are watching this live and you have any questions or comments, as usual, you can drop them down in the comment section below and we'll chat about it after the podcast recording is up. All right, so without wasting any time, we'll be diving into the podcast episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Yo, what's good, meatheads? Hope you're having an amazing day, and welcome to another episode of the Meathead on the Mic podcast. It's your returning champion, IFBB Pro, Matt Butale, coming at you with another topic. And today, I'll be giving insight as to how I gained over 50 pounds of lean mass while staying under 15 to 12% body fat without PEDs. All right. Disclaimer: this is going to vary from based off of where you're starting in your fitness journey, how consistent you are, and mainly your genetics as well, right? So, but as I said earlier on before the podcast episode was recording, I want you guys and girls to know, okay, that I've picked out the most objective things that I think are the concrete reasons as to why and how I gained over 50 pounds of lean mass within 5 years while still staying relatively lean. So you can still apply the information that I've gathered up from my own experience and apply it to your own fitness journey, apply it to your life, and see where the puzzle fits, and then of course you can benefit from that. All right, so that's the point of today's podcast. My intention is to share with you the things that I think objectively got me here, and hopefully you can apply them yourself so that you can get similar results. Again, I'm not promising the same exact thing, but I'm going to give you what I think helped me and actually helped change my body. All right. So let's get into this one today. Let's talk a little bit about my natural transformation from about 2017 to 2021. All right. So every time I think of 2017, when I started competing as a natural bodybuilder, I laugh a little bit. Not because, I completely changed and ate and crapped out the old version of my physique, but because I remember the thoughts going on in my head weeks leading up to competing for the very first time, right? In 2017, that's when I started competing. I had my very first show in that year, November of 2017. I was nervous as fuck. I almost talked myself out of it 3 times. And, like most of you, I didn't really believe that competing was really worth it. Um, I literally told myself every excuse in the book to not go and compete, right? And I was coming out of a breakup at that time, out of a 2-year relationship, and I was struggling financially, always working. I had no time to train or cook food that I had to eat in order to actually put on the muscle and keep up with my protein intake. So it was a clusterfuck the first year of actually like, trying to take my fitness seriously outside of whatever sports I played in the past. Right. Like I remember going to the bus, running to the bus after work to go to my coach's house to learn how to pose and build the posing routine and stuff like that. And then from there straight to the grocery shop and then go home and then hit the shower and all that and repeat it on like 4 or 5 hours sleep every single day. It's kind of the worst thing ever, especially during winter time, which is when I was actually competing. For those of you guys and girls that know, when you get lean around wintertime, it's the fucking worst because you have no body fat on you, no body water on you. So the cold feels colder, right? And your joints get stiffer and all that stuff. So it sucks, right? But anyway, I would sleep 4 to 5 hours a day and go to work, sometimes work 2 jobs with like no energy. It was fucking hell. And when I think of it, I don't even remember 100% how I was able to like convince myself to continue going through with that, right? I just remember that I was tired of writing down my plans in my notes and never actually completing them. And one of the plans, of course, was competing for the first time. And competing was on my list for like 2 years or more, and I was sick and tired of ignoring it. At this time, I was like 19, so I wrote it down. I think when I was like 17, about a year before I got out of high school, or that year I got out of high school, something like that. Anyway, I told myself, and I wrote it down in a little notebook that I've actually still got here. If you're watching this live, you can see it. This notebook. Um, I told myself I'm going to turn pro in 2020. Like that's what I told myself. And then COVID-19 happened, so that show was canceled that year. But subsequently the following year, the show was returned, and then actually ended up turning pro at that show. But that's something else. I remember feeling like shit at work when when there were pizza parties or whatever it was. People would bring donuts and stuff. You know what work was like, right? And I wouldn't be able to eat the pizza because I had to be so disciplined and basically be sharper than a knife when it came to my diet leading up to my very first show. I seriously try to keep talking myself out of it, but honestly, I didn't. I didn't talk myself out of it because it's sort of like I was able to tap into who I truly was. That level of discipline when it came to, like, and as simple as it sounds, not eating the pizza when the pizza was right in my face is part of the reason um, you know, that connects to how I got to this position with like 50 pounds of added muscle and staying relatively lean, right? Because it's mainly discipline when it comes to nutrition that will keep you relatively lean, right? Your conditioning is based off of how you eat, right? Yes, your training too. Yes, your cardio as well. And absolutely your genetics factor in. But it's mainly what you eat, how you eat, and how disciplined you are when it comes to eating. Okay. But anyway, we're gonna dive in a little bit deeper and talk about this story, and then I'm gonna be giving you guys and girls some actionable value here. All right. So I was able to tap into who I truly was by exercising my discipline muscles, I guess, if you want to call them that, whenever food was presented in front of me and I decided not to eat it, right? Given that I had to go to compete for my show. And again, this is not for the average person that's losing weight and just wants to burn fat. In terms of like this story, because this is a story of me competing. And if I weren't competing, I would fucking eat the pizza and the donut and all that stuff. And you can definitely eat pizza, donut, burgers, and all that stuff and still burn fat if you are disciplined. You've got to earn the right to be disciplined. Otherwise, you'll just never control yourself and spill everywhere and just eat whatever the fuck you want because you think you can. All right. So I won that show, right? Of course, we know that. If you've been following me, you know that already. And that's when the relief swept in, you know? But so did the tension because I knew that I was meant to compete and I had to like essentially top that look that I had for my first show by the next year because I was aiming to go to nationals because I wanted to turn pro, as I said. But instead of fear, I felt freedom. I finally proved to myself that I was made for this. And I finally proved to myself the voices in my head was just noise. The voices that said, "Oh, you shouldn't compete. Oh, you shouldn't do this. Oh, you shouldn't do that." This, that, and the other thing. Pretty much like what you guys and girls can experience in your head when it's like you should go to the gym, but you don't actually go because that voice in your head wins that battle that day. This is the opposite of that, right? This is the opposite of that. And again, with this mindset, I was able to go to the nationals that year, win it, and then the following year I placed second. The following year after that, there was no nationals. The following year after that, I won it again and turned pro. Right, so it was literally a repetition of me, one, being disciplined enough to control my habits when it came to eating, and two, being disciplined enough to not listen to the noise in my head that would convince me to not go all the way and quit my fucking goals because I wrote those plans down for like fucking years and I wasn't living up to those plans until I decided to no longer listen to that voice in my head. Right. A lot of this stuff is very mental when it comes to being able to change your body and grow muscle. Most of it is actually mental. So without the mental aspect, you won't be able to apply the knowledge that is going to help you build the muscle. Like you guys and girls know you can go on Google for free. Okay. And I'm just going to say this really quickly. For the person watching this on TikTok that I don't know if they're trolling or hating, but he says, you didn't go to nationals, ha ha ha. Well, I just moved my head and the camera. You can see all those medals there from nationals and my IFBB Pro card that I got last year. So unless if you're trolling, then that's funny. But if not, you can absolutely suck yourself. So anyway, moving forward, I killed the old me. I killed that voice in my head, and I was able to move forward with the fact that I was able to keep myself disciplined physically with food and mentally with the grind, right? Those are like the two biggest things. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And I never looked back since that day, since I was able to actually fucking, lay it down and get those results, get win the nationals, add the muscle slowly, right? And The moment when COVID-19 died down and that pro qualifier came around, I seized the moment, got my pro card. Moral of the story: do not listen to the voice in your head. That voice is the bitch inside you. All right. Instead, create a new voice, the voice of command, the voice of conviction, of commitment, and the voice of a boss overall. Like, just do not quit. You can't afford to let yourself down for another year. Let's fucking go. All right. So I'm gonna give you guys and girls some actionable value as to how to like keep your mind in that frame so you can actually apply whatever it is that you learn or continue to learn about fitness, right? Like, you can go online, man. You can go online. You can learn so much. You can go on YouTube, you can go on Google, you can learn so much about how to build muscle. But like, what's the difference between the person that goes online and like researches all this shit and doesn't change anything and the person that researches all this shit and literally grows muscle and is able to keep themselves lean while they do that? Right? It's not the difference of knowledge because you have the same knowledge, you have the same opportunities, whether or not you have a coach, right? It's literally all in your fucking brain. That's the reason why I told you this story. It's in your brain. The power for you to apply anything that is in your head, to make it leave your head and to go onto your body or into the real world, you have to have a course of action, and that course of action must be met with these few things I'm going to talk about. Number one, and it's going to reflect the story: the discipline, the physical discipline of being able to do the thing that you need to do in order to get the result. In that case, of the story and me competing for the first time, it was not splurging and eating pizza and muffin and donuts at work, even though I was fucking hungry and I was on a calorie deficit and I was training super hard and I had barely any sleep. The discipline of not eating that food, knowing that it would mess me up for my very first competition, was one of the main foundations, the main building blocks to help get those ideas and plans that were on pieces of paper and in my head and bring them into the real world and manifest them physically, which was difficult, but it works, right? You can get all the information you want online, but if you can't use your brain to literally make your body apply that information, the information just stays in your head. It stays literally in your brain. There's nothing you can do about it until you do something about it, right? There's nothing you can do about it until you do something about it physically, like in like the real world, like with action. That's the first thing, the discipline when it comes to limiting yourself in terms of like how you should do certain things and control certain things for a certain period of time to get a desired outcome, right? The discipline to do the thing. The other thing that I want to talk about outside of like the discipline and the action is another mental thing, of course, and I did touch upon it in the story a little bit. It's ignoring the pessimist in your brain. All right. It's ignoring the pessimist in your brain. Every single human being has that voice in their head that's going to tell them to not do the thing because it's just going to make you feel more comfortable, or it's just going to make you feel more safe, or at least initially inside you don't want to do the thing because you're lazy or because you're tired or whatever it is. And I can 100% relate, especially in that story I just told. Be functioning off of fucking 3 to 5 hours of sleep every day, going to the gym. And again, I was taking the bus. I'd have to bus for like an hour and a half to go to my coach and do posing there and then go back to get my groceries and then cook. And it was just, I didn't want to do most of the shit that I had to do. Right. And the voice in my head, in the back of my head, was saying, yo, Matt, like, just fucking chill out today. Just sleep. Don't go to the gym today. You don't have to really be sharp with your nutrition today because you're kind of tired. And that voice, which every single human being has, I don't give a shit who you are. We all have that voice, is going to kill you. And it's going to be the voice that holds you back from actually achieving your dreams. And I'm telling you this with firsthand experience, not only with myself, but with the clients that I've worked with now and, the past clients that I've had, and even my friends in the gym. Like, it's this, and you too, you can understand this too. Anything that you've ever done successfully was done because you listened to the better side of your brain instead of the worst side of your brain, right? The better side is the optimistic side saying, I can do this. I have the energy. Yes, it's hard, but I'm going to push a little bit harder. Like, that part of your brain is the most important part when it comes to applying not only the first step, the discipline, but ignoring any of the roadblocks that you think are actually there. Even if there are actual roadblocks, having a strong enough mind to not listen to the bitch in your brain is so fucking important. That's literally it's like applying the knowledge that you learn outside of that, and be like, the only difference from someone that applies it and then falls off and applies it and continues to grow is the fact that with every obstacle that comes in the way, the person that has the mindset of listening to the positive side of the brain is able to continue going through and growing because they understand that yes, it's going to be difficult, but my mind has to be stronger and I have to lean on the positive thoughts a lot more in order for me to actually use this for a long period of time. Use this in terms of when I say this, I'm talking about the information or use the knowledge and apply it with discipline for a long period of time because you're able to lean mentally on that side of your brain. Okay. And the last thing I want to talk about to apply this, how to grow muscle, how I actually grew muscle about 50 pounds and stayed relatively lean, under 15% body fat as a natural athlete in 5 years. The number one thing, guys and girls, and you've heard this 8 billion times, and I'm going to tell you again because it didn't change. It's something I still do now, is I respect my protein limits. Okay. There's one part of it. Okay. There's one part of it where, you're going up and down in weight because you're growing, you're essentially bulking and cutting in a way. But the more important part is that for every gram of protein, or for every pound you have, you've got to have at least bare minimum, scratching the bottom, a gram of protein for every pound of body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, it's 200 grams protein daily. Can't miss. Can't miss. Right. And if we're talking about staying relatively lean and you are overweight, get lean first and then focus on slowly maintaining or just staying in a slight surplus to build muscle without having to go so far off into the deep end, right? And vice versa if you are starting off skinny and you're already lean, right? You don't want to go out of control and get so much into a calorie surplus where you now get fat, right? You want to keep it under control and stay in a zone where it's comfortable enough for you to eat. You don't feel too full, you don't feel hungry at all, right? But you still respect that uh, protein marker that I said, at least a gram per pound of body weight for a consecutive, literally for years, for months and years, to get to a point where you can actually put on 50 pounds of muscle. Not everybody is going to be able to put on 50 pounds of muscle, even if they're training for the first time, right? As I said at the beginning of this episode, genetics do play a huge role. They really, really do play a huge role. All right. But I want you guys and girls to just be 100% aware of this. Even though you don't have my genetics, even though you might not have my work ethic, it still stands true. It's worked for my clients. It's worked for literally all of my gym boys, and it's going to work for you if you can apply it in your own way. All right, that's it. That's all. If you like this episode, straight out with a friend. I hope I was able to deliver a valuable experience to you guys and girls today. Thank you so much for your precious time and attention. Also, I want to let you know if you want to lose 25 pounds and become a part of the Natural Nomad Academy with me as your head coach, feel free to shoot me a DM on whatever social media platform you are listening to this on. Do not forget to screenshot and share this podcast out to your Instagram stories. Let's embrace your inner meathead together. All right. It's been nice chatting. Hope you like what today's topic was about. Natural IFBB Pro Matt Butale signing out. Boom. Vitargo, I appreciate it. I actually grew up on Vitargo, man. I used to buy those the big tubs, huge tubs of the carb powder. That actually saved my life. Honestly, I would take those into the gym. Very easy. Just throw some water with it, shake it up. I wonder what happened to those super big containers. I haven't. I don't know if you guys still sell them. I'm here in Canada. I don't know if you guys still sell them over here, but yeah, Vitargo took me throughout high school. That was like my number one carb supplement. I actually make this carb shake where I'd get like a bunch of mangoes, some bananas, apples, tangerines, throw them in there. Of course, I'd measure them all just to make sure I'm getting a desired outcome. And then with the carb powder for Vitargo, blend that up. And I think for every 600 milliliters, I was able to get 300 grams of carbs. So it was like my go-to liquid carb, easy to digest shake that I would always take with me. And I even use that up to today when it comes to competing for shows because it's just very easy to digest those carbs. The dextrose is sick. And I love it, man. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to find those big, huge fucking tubs like back then. So Carbolin, sometimes I'll grab it. But honestly, Vitargo, which flavor was it? I can't remember. The powder was kind of orange. It was the tropical flavor, something like that. That has my heart. That's the one I grew up on. Oh, he's the CEO. Shout out to you, CEO of Vitargo. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Honestly, I don't know, how you got here, but I really do appreciate the fact that you're here. Since we don't make them anymore, I don't know why, but I definitely miss them. I definitely miss them. If you ever are talking about this in a board meeting or whatever it is, bring them back just for me, or at least like five big bins, and just throw them to me. I'll buy them. I'll buy them. I love them, the tropical flavor. But yeah, Definitely, absolutely recommend Vitargo carb powder if you guys and girls are looking for a carb supplement that is easy to digest, tastes freaking like wicked, and is respective of your calories. Definitely, you guys and girls want to check that out. Vitargo, Vitargo. It's beautiful. Love that supplement. Helps me carb up for my shows without getting bloated because it's liquid, easy to digest. Maybe in the future. Awesome. Yeah, definitely reach out to me if that ever happens. I'm going to stay optimistic for sure. I appreciate you, Vitargo. Thank you for tuning in. So TikTok, I'm going to read some of the comments here on TikTok. Most of them are actually kind of weird, so I'm not going to read all of them. Whatever seems to apply is what I'm going to talk about here. Um, let's see here. So no, actually nothing is worth talking about. All of this is just crazy, and some of these people are really just on about it. Yes, Vitargo. All right, people. Again, honestly, I'll shoot you a message just to thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I really like. Well, how old was I? About 15, 14, 15, 15 years old. It was my old gym teacher. He was the first guy who had like that big tub, and after I'd work out, he'd bring me in and he's like, "Hey Matt, like, you're looking a little bit flat." Like that was the first time I heard that in my life. I was like 14, 15. I didn't even know what he meant. I wasn't into bodybuilding. I was a freestyle wrestler. He's like, "Here, take this." And then it just tasted good to me. And then I realized like I would be able to get energy when I'd perform better in football and all that. It was just carbohydrates. It's like rice, but like you don't have to chew it and microwave it. So I'm like, oh, this is it. And I ended up buying my own. My twin brother ended up buying his own. We ended up fighting over it because I finished mine first. Yeah. Natural Olympia coming up, yes, but unfortunately, I'm not a pro in those ranks. I'm a pro in IFBB. I'm still a natural athlete. So basically, it's very weird. I don't know how. It's very confusing, and I honestly don't really like the way it's set up. But they've got like one natural for amateurs, one natural pro qualifier a year. It's basically our nationals, and when you win the overall at that competition, you get your pro card in your division. So I was able to turn pro last year in November, and now that I'm a pro, I mean, what IFBB Pro is actually natural. Like, let's think about it. But there is that opportunity um, to compete at least once a year in this natural. It's a sanction IFBB sanctioned pro called the Ben Weider Naturals. It's held in Virginia. It was formerly held in Quebec, Canada. But anyway, if you win that show, essentially in every class except for bodybuilding, you can go to the Olympia, which is it's weird because you're a natural athlete that goes to the Olympia now, and then once you get to the Olympia as a natural, you're going to be competing against everybody that is natural. But it's weird the way the IFBB has that set up, but it's cool. I heard of the Natural Olympia. I'm very aware of it. Kiyoshi Moody is going to compete. Awesome. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that. I always keep my head in the natural sphere anyway. But unfortunately, I do not think I'd be able to compete in that organization, right? Because I value my pro card. And no, I'm not going to hop on Sauce, but I guess I'm going to do that one show every single year. Treat that like my Olympia, the Ben Weeders, right? That's all I got. But yeah, I'm definitely going to shoot you a message, people, guys and girls. I really do appreciate you giving me your precious time today. Peace, love, protein, and I guess just because Vitargo is here, carb powder as well. Hope you guys and girls have the best fucking day of your life. We are out. Peace.